to Neighborhood Stroll.
In the morning, Harold got up and made breakfast. Gloria lay in bed, still tired. She smelled the bacon, eggs, and grits that Harold had made. Anytime Harold cooked, he cooked the heavy stuff. Gloria usually ate yogurt and a bowl of fruit. She peered outside and looked at the day. It was nice and cool. She asked Harold if he wanted to go for a walk. This was something they often did when the weather was comfortable. They ate their breakfast, and Gloria washed the dishes. She went upstairs to put on her walking shoes while Harold sat out on the porch. The pair had lived in the neighborhood for almost 30 years. When they originally moved in, it was a relatively new development. It was made up of about 60 houses with a few cul-de-sacs. Some of the original residents still lived there, but many of the current neighbors had moved in well after them, bringing a mixture of young and middle age and a variety of ethnic groups. The dyad had been walking, enjoying the breeze and looking at the pretty flowers of their neighbors when they came across their friend George, who had just pulled up and was taking a case of water out of his trunk. George, along with his wife and son, were among the older residents who had been there since the beginning. They were friends with George and stopped to catch up. George informed them that he had seen Zuri working at the big box wholesale store. Much to Harold's chagrin, he acknowledged it. Gloria gave a quick explanation about how stressful teaching had been. George acknowledged and commented on the shocking shooting of a teacher in the next county. He offered his solution of teachers carrying their own guns, much to the disagreement of Gloria and Harold, displayed with a bit of silence. They changed the subject and asked about George's son. George was disappointed in his son because he quit college and had not found a job, but had gotten a young lady pregnant. He rarely saw his son. He stopped coming around after his mother had passed away last year from a battle with cancer. Initially, his son moved in with his aunt, George's sister, but now he was living with his girlfriend. The threesome chatted for a bit until the conversation began to fizzle out. Then Gloria began to ease away, signaling to Harold it was time to continue their walk. The couple continued up the road, waving to a young pair walking their dog. Since the pandemic, many residents have been working from home. During their walk, they would often reflect on families who had moved out of the neighborhood. As they passed one house, they remembered the couple from years ago who had 4 kids, and the husband, who was a dentist, left the wife for a dental assistant. Another house, they admired how well the lawn was kept. As they rounded the cul-de-sac on their way back, Gloria pointed out the house with the sports car, which often made loud noises when it entered the neighborhood. Again, they passed George's house, where an American flag was displayed by the driveway. They reminisced about spending time with George and his wife several years ago. Harold and George had connected through music and the community band. Harold, who had attended an HBCU and played in the band, bonded with George, who had played during high school. George was now alone, but his son was around the same age as Harold and Gloria's son, maybe a little older. As kids, their sons would often ride their bikes together. A few times, George and Harold took their sons to a baseball game in Washington, D.C. to see the Nationals play. At the games, the men would converse about many topics. George enjoyed hunting white-tailed deer, while Harold liked fishing. In sports, George loved his Cincinnati Bengals, while Harold was a diehard Pittsburgh Steelers fan. They both shared the common aspects of a childhood with very little finances. Harold grew up in New Jersey, while George was from Ohio, but now they both reside in the suburbs of Northern Virginia. They mostly steered clear of politics because they knew it didn't define the whole person. Despite their political differences, they were, and still are, good friends. Gloria and George's wife, Jill, were friendly despite their different schedules. Gloria worked full-time as a school principal, while Jill was a stay-at-home mom before COVID and her cancer diagnosis. During Jill's illness, Gloria occasionally checked on the family, brought them food, and helped out when she could. Once, Jill had signed up to bring a dish to a potluck. Unfortunately, Jill wasn't feeling well, so Gloria bought some store-brand potato salad and added raisins to it, so the group would think Jill had made it. At Jill's funeral, George and his son were supported by family, especially George's sister, Kate, and their church community. Besides Harold, Gloria, and their son Brandon, 2 other couples from the neighborhood also attended. Back at the house, Harold rested for a bit on the porch, while Gloria went inside to freshen up. After getting cleaned up, Gloria decided to text her son Brandon to let him know that his neighborhood friend is going to be a father. Although Gloria would prefer to call Brandon, she knew he was at work and typically communicated via text. Brandon lived and worked in Maryland, about an hour away from his parents. He rarely called or visited, so any conversation Gloria had with her son was precious to her. His parents had always supported him, covering his college tuition, room and board, and even providing a used car when he secured a decent-paying job. However, when Brandon graduated, he felt entitled to a new car, a demand his parents found both ridiculous and ungrateful. Despite this tension, Brandon often asked his mother to set up doctor appointments for his checkups, something she reminded him was his responsibility. Though frustrated, his parents recognized that Brandon was in a phase of transitioning into adulthood, just as they were transitioning from a supervisory role to more of a consultant role in his life. It was a difficult adjustment for both sides, but they knew it was necessary. Meanwhile, outside on the porch, the UPS man arrived. Harold walked up to the end of the driveway to talk to the delivery person. The UPS man looked at the name on the package, Mr. Harold Butler. He tried to get Harold to sign for the package, but Harold, in his usual manner, being difficult, refused to put his signature down. Instead, he walked the delivery man back to the porch and had him take a picture of the package, much to the delivery man's chagrin. Harold just enjoys bothering, or let's say talking to people, which is why he walked him back to the house.
How do you interpret Brandon's sense of entitlement regarding the new car? Do you believe it reflects a larger generational divide between him and his parents? Let me know in the comments. Thank you.